So I've been pitching this show, the Sabrina Soto Show, and the concept for 10 years. This whole time, I didn't think that anybody would really care about it. So when I would pitch inside, I think subconsciously, I was like, nobody really cares about what I say. All anybody wants me to do is to clean on TV and organize and fluff throw pillows.
Yeah.
So nobody, of course, nobody picks up this show because nobody cares about what I have to say. I realized that's not true. When I started to believe in myself,
Yes.
then the universe was like, yes, queen, this is what we were waiting for. The little details matter. I used to really love to watch some of the housewives. I used to love true crime podcasts. I used to like to drink a little too much wine. When I finally stopped doing the podcast, stopped drinking too much, stopped being in other people's lane and stayed in my own lane, man, did that free up a lot of energy.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Terri Cole Show. I am so happy that you are joining me today. I have a super special guest who actually is a real frequent flyer on the Terri Cole Show. I think she is the guest I've had on the most times. I think she's been on the show 4 times. Sabrina Soto. And you might know her from Extreme Makeover, design shows. I love her social media because she's always telling me how to make my house more organized, how to cook things better, how to clean things better. She has an amazing podcast called Redesigning Life. And, she interviews people. That's actually how I met her. Is she invited me when Boundary Boss first came out to be a guest on her show. And then we just kind of fell in love, you guys. Like, that happens sometimes with women. We just were meant to be friends. Like, I understood her. She also is from New York. She's a New Yorker, someone I understand. What we were talking about the first time that she was on the show was about manifesting. And she breaks down in this episode exactly what she does. And I'm telling you, I'm inviting you to do it with me. I'm doing it. I want you to do it. We have to remember how powerful our intention is, and visualizing what we want and feeling the feelings of having it. All so good. But what she has materialized and manifested and worked her ass off for is an amazing new show, the Sabrina Soto Show. It already premiered, so you guys can literally download it right now. Each episode is a whole bunch of different stuff, different experts, but we filmed the whole thing in her beautiful house in LA, in Sherman Oaks. So exciting. The whole entire thing. The experts that were there: Michael Beckwith, Jason Momoa, Lewis Howes, Danny Morell, Dr. Romani, the narcissism expert. So it was super fun for me to be a part of this whole thing. Super fun. And to watch her doing her thing, it's so perfect. She's pulling together all the things that she's super interested in doing in her life and the things that have helped her manifest the life she wants. So she's been manifesting this show for 10 years, and now it's a reality. And she reveals on the show today how she manifested the love of her life, and she is now engaged. So exciting. I know this is a feel-good interview for sure, because I felt amazing doing it. I'm so proud of her. So welcome to being a fly on the wall in this girlfriend jam with me and one of my besties, Sabrina Soto. I think you guys are going to love it, and I think you're going to love the Sabrina Soto Show. You can watch it on Hulu and a bunch of other places. Go watch it right now after you watch this interview. Oh, well, hello there, and welcome to the Terri Cole Show. I have one of my besties, Sabrina Soto, the frequent flyer, on the show today. We have so many things. Literally, I think you've been on the show more than any other people, Sab.
Is that
honestly,
true?
I do believe so. And well deserved, my friend.
Yes.
So
thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Of course, I love you. It's just like what we would do on a random Thursday, but we're just doing it now with other people here.
Yeah, I love it.
You know what I'm saying? Let's just start with the most exciting news that's happening. Can we please talk about the Sabrina Soto Show?
Well, I mean, Terri, I've manifested so much because I'm getting married too. But yes, let's talk about the show.
Well, actually, no. Let's talk about manifesting and then talk about the show, please. Because really,
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It's also exciting. And actually, one of the first episodes you and I did together on here on the Terri Cole Show, we really zoned in and talked so much about manifesting and what you actually do. And this is so crazy that you have manifested both of these things at the same time, that you've been manifesting for at least a decade.
100%. That is true. I have been pitching this show for over 10 years, and I've been looking for my soulmate for 48 years. Well, maybe not 48 years, but felt like 48 years. And I think that what the magic is in all of this is
Mhm.
getting back to my roots of knowing how to manifest. And I think we all just forget at times and we get off course. And
Mhm.
last year, I really did the work to get myself back on track. And it obviously worked because I'm living my dream. I mean, I was telling my friend Tanya the other day, I don't think I've ever been this happy in my entire life.
And you so deserve it. Sabrina,
Thank
it's
you.
like you've worked so hard. You have this amazing podcast that helps so many people, which is how you and I met a bunch of years ago, and then just fell madly, deeply in love with each other before you fell madly and deeply in love with Nate. So how is it right now? Like, I want to talk about sort of the how of both the relationship, the engagement, and the show.
Yeah.
But I just want to know for you, how does it feel to have these things that you've been running the long game and doing the hard work and having lots of heartbreak in between and lots of disappointments in between? What kept you going on both of these fronts?
Well, the first big manifestation I think I had in my life was about 20 years ago. And it happened after I watched The Secret in 2006. And I created, my HGTV job. And then, you get burnt out and like just life happens and you get off track. And I think the beginning of last year, I realized I've done this before. I've created my dream job, my dream life before. I need to go back to the basics and go back
Yep.
to the steps. One thing that I realized in this iteration of my life is it all boiled down to self-esteem. And I
Mm,
had to really be honest with myself and take inventory of what I was doing to sabotage myself and what I had control over. And I realized that there were people in my life that shouldn't have access to me. I think that there were things that I was doing to myself that weren't as healthy. There was
mhm.
self-sabotaging in the self-talk that I was doing that I wasn't aware of, Terry. I really
Yeah.
wasn't aware of how much
Mhm.
I beat myself up. And I just cut it the F out because I realized in order to get to the next step, I needed to do what I had control over to
Mm.
get all of those things out. And once I did that, and I really did it because I think a lot of people, and especially me, talk the talk but don't walk the walk.
Mhm.
When I really started walking the walk, everything started to shift and the
Mm.
universe just started to create magic.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You you created the conditions for the universe to be conspiring in your favor successfully by having better boundaries, by talking true more, by telling the truth about how you feel, by not really putting up with from people. Like over the last year since you and I met, I've seen a transformation in you personally of how there was more porous boundaries, I would say, from a
Yes,
therapeutic point of
100%.
view back in the day when we first met. And part of you were drawn to the work because you were so ready to do it. You were
Yeah.
drawn to Boundary Boss, and that's how we met, as I was on your show for the first book.
And you and I joked the other day that I didn't really think I was a high functioning codependent, but I am. I want to admit it here now. But the thing that I would do is I would allow people in my life or people that didn't treat me right, and then I would say, well, I'm kind of mean if I just cut them out. It's not nice if I don't let them in.
Hmm.
Maybe I should just call them back. And you're the
Yep.
one who taught me with both of your books that no, it's okay to have boundaries. The
Yes.
only person who's gonna take care of you at the end of the day is you,
Yep.
period. I
Yep.
am my own best friend first.
Yep.
And once I started kind of feeling more confident in doing that and saying no when I wanted to say no,
Yes.
my life changed.
Yes. And not letting, I remember us talking about 2.5 years ago, or whatever it was, about someone sort of guilting you about, not doing something, whatever it is that they wanted to do. And you really wanted more time for yourself. And it was this really pivotal moment of you really being like, what's not nice though? Them guilting me isn't nice either.
Yeah,
I'm like, correct. And that is their side of the street. And
that's right.
you sticking to your no was your side of the street. And it also can be mind blowing when we see that our relationships, some of them are exactly as fragile as we thought they were. and the
Yes.
good ones are not. So
Yes.
people will fall away. So have people moved out of your life?
If anybody's listening, I was just slow clapping if you're not watching. It's so true. I have somebody in particular that got so accustomed to me being such a people pleaser in their lives that when I
Mhm.
started to implement these boundaries
Yeah.
in the beginning of last year, they didn't like it at all.
Mm.
At all. And I was called names and all these things, but I realized it's my fault too that I got
Mhm.
this person so used to being able to walk all over me.
Yep.
But I realized it was so unhealthy that it was, and I have to admit that started feeling guilty when they started the name calling and all these things.
Mhm.
And then it was like, nope, that's old programming. Just
Yes.
take a beat and realize that there are going to be people, if somebody's listening, don't get me wrong, there are going to be people that when you start implementing these boundaries will not like it.
Yep.
But be honest with yourself and think about if whether or not that relationship you have with that person, whether it be a boss, your significant other, your best friend, your parent, is actually healthy. Because I would
Right.
tell you most of the times you're going to start seeing that they're not healthy to begin with. And the
Right.
boundaries are exactly what should have happened years ago.
It's so incredibly true. I wanna go back to the first time you were on this show and you were talking about putting your manifestations in a, because you 'cause you're the queen of everything in your house and just knowing
Organizing.
all the cool ways of doing it. So you had, like, your manifestations laminated so you could
Yes,
read them in the shower.
correct.
Is that still happening?
Still happening. I was actually in the shower before this. I took a shower for you. And
Thank
I
you.
was looking at it and I actually looked and I was like, "Oh my gosh, these 2 things already have come to fruition and we're only in the 3rd month of the year."
Mm.
And it's so powerful.
So
But
how
I
do you
have to
write
say,
it?
so I have
How do
one.
you Yeah, tell
Here's how
me.
I do it. I do
Yeah,
it on my computer. I copy
okay,
and paste pictures on one page, an 8.5 by 11,
okay.
and I'll create a mood board basically for what I want my life to be. Then I'll print it out 4 times. One is next to my mirror when I'm getting ready. One is in my shower in a lamination so I could put it in my shower wall. One is here in my office, and another one is next to my like where I hang out in another part of my house. So wherever I am, I'm like looking at it all the time. And I like doing it electronically because I can really be specific on what I want
Yep.
and I just create new ones every year. So I could look back in my computer for 5 years ago, 6 years ago to see what my mood board or my vision board looked like then. And it's so fun to see how it came true.
So you guys, everyone listening, I mean, listen, it's only March, right? This is literally the first quarter of 2025. What do you have to lose? I'm so into it. It's funny. I started doing it on my phone, but I knew I needed the next step. So Sabrina, you're really inspiring me to do the next step, which is, it's so funny. The moment you change your mind about what's going to happen, immediately you will see something reflected back to you from the universe. Some Deepak Chopra would call it a meaningful coincidence. I call it a synchronistic happening where you just go, oh, that's interesting. I said I needed another person for this, and now another person just inquired about, like, you can't make it up.
You can't make it up, but I have to be real right now and talk to you about my oh gosh, I guess the way that I was sabotaging myself. So let me
Yeah.
just use the show for instance. So I've been pitching this show, the Sabrina Soto Show, and the concept for 10 years. And I mean, if I'm being really, really vulnerable right now and telling you the truth, I think this whole time I didn't think that anybody would really care about it. So when I would
Mm,
pitch inside, I think subconsciously I was like, nobody really cares about what I say. Nobody's going to take this
yep.
seriously. They just want me to clean. All anybody wants me to do is to clean on TV and organize and put up like fluff throw pillows.
Yeah.
So nobody, of course, nobody picks up this show
mm,
because nobody cares about what I have to say,
mm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Until I realized what? That's not true because people
Right.
listen to my podcast and people when I speak on stages, people listen. So when I started to believe in myself,
Yes.
then the universe was like, "Yes, queen, this is what we were waiting for." But
Oh, it's so good.
it took me believing in myself first. And so what happened then, and I'm giving you the little details matter. I used to really love to watch some of the housewives. I used to love true crime podcasts.
Mhm.
I used to like to drink a little too much wine.
Yep.
And all these things, it sounds silly, right? But and you know what my favorite pastime was? Giving people advice when they didn't ask me. I was so good at that. And then when I finally stopped doing the podcast, stopped watching the stopped drinking too much, stopped being in other people's lane and stayed in my own lane,
Yeah.
man, did that free up a lot of energy.
Oh, so many things I want to talk about everything you just said. So I loved that share. So super powerful, so directive too, because it's so true. When you said before that you felt like there was a whole self-esteem issue that came in, it's so obvious now, of course, Monday morning quarterbacking. But when you look back and go, you were feeling insecure that nobody would care, and it was you needed to care enough. You needed to say no.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
really good. I
Yes.
am an original thinker. I know amazing people. This show is going to crush. Nobody does it the way that I do it. Because here's the thing, Sabrina Soto. Nobody does do it the way that you do it. And people love the way that you do it. So again, it's not, you don't have to be better or bigger than anyone else. It's about you being the most Sabrina Soto you could possibly be. And
Yeah.
that then brings that to the show. So, okay. So there's that piece that is so major, and being specific about what it is that you want. So important.
Yes.
Allowing. Deepak Chopra said years ago, I did a lot of studying with him, Beck and I, for, meditating and manifesting and all the things. He said, I know you think what you watch doesn't matter, but I'm telling you it does.
It does.
It does. And I was like, oh, and it's funny. I was really into like Criminal Minds and stuff like that at that point, like serial killer shit. And Vic was like, hey, it really does matter. And you really want to think about it. And it's funny. I'm like you, I've moved towards really protecting my nervous system in a different way. And that is not that. That
Yeah.
serial killer stuff is not that. Gossipy housewife is not that. Because it
No.
also kicks up insecurity. There's all these things that happen when you start really protecting your peace.
Yes.
Wow, something really.
I used to listen to this podcast one of the executive producers of Extreme Makeover, which I was on, created a podcast called Betrayal. It was based on her true story, and it became a Hulu show. But then it became this weekly betrayal show where every week somebody would go on and see how they were betrayed. And I swear, every time I would listen to an episode, I'd look at Nate and I'd be like, do you have an extra phone that you're just, he'd be like, stop listening to those damn podcasts.
You're like, oh my God.
It really does seep into your subconscious, these things. And
Yes.
it's unnecessary. And I know it feels good at the time to listen to these like true crime stories, but trust me, just take a break and see how your anxiety just lessens a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I think there really is something to be honest, like what you were saying and how vulnerable you were and just sharing what was really going on. What do you think was really getting in the way? Listen, self-sabotage is real. Right? Like
Self-sabotage
that's what that is. That's what
Yeah.
you're talking about. That's what that is. When we don't fully believe in ourselves, or when we're almost like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal type of
Yeah.
thing, like minimizing. And this show happened when you stopped doing it. So let's talk a little bit. And then I do want to talk about your love story with Nate, because I just feel like the manifesting, it's funny. It's a full circle, and it's such an inspired story. So what served as the inspiration for the show? Let's talk about that. And how does it feel to finally have it come to life? It's so exciting, you guys. As I said in the upfront of this episode, it's out right now. So
Yes, it is.
Hulu it up, baby.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's we have it with the Design Network, so it's on Hulu and Amazon and DirecTV and all free, all the freebies. So I love home. Obviously, everyone knows that. I was on HGTV for years, and I love home decor and organizing and cleaning, but I also love spirituality. I love mindset shifts. I love food.
Yep.
I love entertaining. I love fitness. So I wanted to create a show that merged everything together, and it really was. I mean, we shot it in my house. but I was also living my life at the time. I have Olivia who needed to go to school, so I'm like making her breakfast, the crew's coming in. You got ready in her room. The green room was
I love
Olivia's
it.
bed. I mean, it was a real life come into my house and share your expertise. And I
Mhm.
was able to create 10 shows, 30 guests of
Mm.
all of my favorite people in different, fields who came in. It's such a great feel-good show. There's so much takeaway. But I remember before this happened, I went to a psychic. Okay, just
Mhm.
bear with me, don't judge me yet. I went to a psychic and I'm also writing a book at this time, and she said this book is gonna get picked up when you start living it. And that was the beginning of last year, and I was like, "Mic drop," and she was right. And that's kind of what started this whole thing, but, the show is everything that I'm passionate about, and I
Mhm.
think, that a lot of people, even if they don't necessarily love or know what breath work is, you're gonna
Right.
learn what it is, and you're gonna be able to have I just don't think that there's any episode people watch and not feel good about their lives afterwards and take some sort of new tip with them after
Yep.
they watch the show. Unlike a true crime podcast or show, you will feel good after you watch this show. I promise you.
So tell us a little bit about some of the guests or the expertise that people can see in the show. I
I
loved
have
doing it, by the way. I loved filming
You
in your
were a
house.
guest.
Yes.
And
It was
you
so
did
fun.
such a great we had such a great chat when you were on, and then you also were part of a segment with Kat Cora, who's people don't know, she's an amazing chef, first Iron Chef, female Iron Chef.
Mhm.
We had other chefs on, Michael Beckwith from The Secret, Jason
Mm.
Momoa came and called in, which is an old friend of mine. We talked about grounding and how he stays grounded in his chaotic life. We had Chef Marcella, I had Trish, my best friend, on. We had Danny Morel. I mean, we had 30 different guests. So
You
there's
had Lewis Howes, you
Lewis
had Dr.
Howes,
Romany, because
Dr.
those were the
Romney.
people who were there in my day.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was just 30 people, but it was so fun. And, it was such a passion of mine. But you can see when you watch the show, everyone's personality came out and everybody was vulnerable and real and
Mm.
authentic. And it was so fun.
It was great. So there's all these elements. You have the parts of you. So this is the parts of Sabrina. So it's design, obviously. There's like home design stuff. There's food because you love food, you love to make food, you love to eat food, and you love great chefs. So we have that.
Yeah.
You have the wellness aspect, so the psychological aspect, but also the breath work and the other sort of ancillary. I don't know what the word is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The
Well, English is my second language, so don't ask me.
You're like, I can't say it. Ancillary is the word I want
Yeah.
to
There
say.
you go.
Other things. And part of it is you also, Sabrina, sharing what you really do in your life. I mean, we're literally getting to be in your beautiful home. And it's
Thank
so
you.
cozy, but so lovely. It's like it just the whole set. It's funny. The vibe I had, my experience, I would have come no matter what, no matter who was doing it, no matter what the thing was. But everyone I met, I loved. Like every person, every producer, Kat. We're like texting back and forth. We're like friends. Like, do
I
you know what I
love
mean?
it.
Every person that I met, I was like, wow. So your ability to recognize and gather talent, that is a skill too. And your audience is like you. We're all seekers. We all want to make healthy, delicious tasting food and to have peaceful internal life and to be
Yeah.
physically fit and all the things. So it's like, I feel like this show is for everyone, no
Who
matter
wants to
what your
redefine their
interest
life?
in. Yeah.
Yes. And my mom jokes, like, I have done so many healing modalities in my life. I've been a seeker since I was in high school. I lived in LA, and there's this little store called the Psychic Eye that had crystals and books and, all these different
Mhm.
things. And I used to spend so much time there. But she jokes like, when is enough enough? But the truth is, I still seek. I mean, I'm still listening to books while I was getting
Mm.
ready for this. I am not done. I still have bad days. I still, get into a rut and have to like smack myself in the face. But one thing too, that tip that I can give that I started implementing last year is telling myself that I'm proud of myself.
Mm.
Even like in the smallest thing, if I eat a good meal, if I go work out when I didn't feel like working out, if I go on a hike
Yes.
when I didn't feel like going on a hike, afterwards I say to myself, even if just in the car, I'm proud of you. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you. And that helped my self-esteem too.
Yes. And it also inspires us, because I do something similar, to live a life that I am proud of, right? To be inspired, to eat, to work out even when I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Because I love myself and I want to live a long time, but I want to live well. I just don't want to live long. I want to live
Yeah.
well, you know? So being proud of yourself and doing things that make you feel proud absolutely build self-esteem and self-confidence, because when the more we're doing that, and this is for everyone, the more you're becoming someone that you can count on to do what's in your best interest.
I'm okay. I keep doing these things that nobody can hear. I was doing,
She
I
was
was just
raising
like
the roof.
raising the roof. Okay, could we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Being somebody that you can count on. So I'll give you an example.
Mm.
It is you're having a weekend with your girlfriends or your friends or whatever, and you're like eating crappy stuff. Then you say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to eat whole foods and really like change my diet. Then Monday rolls around, you have a hard day at work and you eat a cheeseburger that night. I know that sounds silly. It's only one cheeseburger, but you told yourself that
Yep.
you weren't going to do this and you're doing it. And you have to be a person of your word to yourself first before you are a person of your word to other people. So the
Yes.
4 agreements, one of them is with yourself. And the
Yes.
more that you do the things that you're going to say that you could count on yourself is you trust yourself, other people will trust you too.
It's so true. And so with the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word. I think a lot of people hear that and think that means to other people only. What
Right.
you're
But to yourself.
saying is be impeccable with your word to yourself. Keep
Yes.
your word to yourself, because this makes you, according to me, an emotionally trustworthy person. Because
Yep.
when we keep our word to other people, we're emotionally trustworthy to them, right? You know you can count on me. If I say I'm going to do it, I'll do it. That's it. You don't have to ask again. You don't have to feel bad. You know, and vice versa, right? This is a healthy, mutual friendship. But we are people who are emotionally safe.
Yes.
Because when you don't do what you say you're going to do, even for yourself, you are not emotionally safe,
That's right. That's right.
right? You're a
That's right.
disappointment to yourself rather than doing something that makes you feel proud. Okay. So everyone, you have to watch every single episode. And now it's a
Please.
dump thing, right? Meaning, like, can people
Yes.
binge?
Yeah, you could binge watch. Actually, I got a DM this morning. A lady binged it yesterday, which
Oh.
made me, I was like, well, that's a lot of hours, but I was like, that's great. That's still fine with me. And she said she loved it so much that she said every episode she thought maybe she wasn't going to get through it. And that every episode was so different that she got so much takeaway. So that was such a compliment to me that I got.
Love. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I cannot wait.
Me
Cannot wait
too.
to watch it all. I mean, I can't wait to see the episode we did, which I think is episode 4.
I think so. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
doesn't matter. Who cares? You got to watch them all, people. So,
You got to
so
watch them
don't
all.
even worry. You understand. There'll be links in all the show notes to do it. But
Yes.
let's talk about the juicy bits of manifesting love. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about
Yes.
your romantic history,
Okay.
and
Ooh, maybe not.
maybe a little bit, just a little bit,
Okay.
not a lot. And how Nate, um, how you are in this position right now of being engaged to be married.
Yes, like, probably a lot of women listening, everyone wants to be loved. Everyone
Mm,
does.
yeah.
And, of course, I always wanted to be in a really healthy relationship and
Mm-hmm.
have a family unit with Olivia, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for her dad and I, but
Mm-hmm.
since then, I was dating people, and I think obviously, they didn't work out, but I think that I approached those relationships in such a needy way, and when I met Nate, I was a different
Yeah.
person, and I'll tell you
Mm.
what was different. And he even says this story that when we went on our first date, we were talking about how dating was going in LA, and most
Mm-hmm.
people are like, "It sucks, people suck,"
Yeah.
all that, and he says, jokes like, "I couldn't believe you answered, like, I'm having the best time." And I did say that, and he was like, it kind of like, it took him by surprise because most people don't answer that way, but I'll tell you why and I meant it because I didn't take it as seriously as I used to. I used to go into dates thinking, maybe this is the one," or,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
putting some pressure, and for the first time in my life, I'm like, "You know what? I'm going to go take this as an adventure. And I'm going to actually tell the truth and create my boundaries. So I think Nate and I were on our third date, and he lives in Chicago.
Mhm.
And I made it clear, like, I'm not moving to Chicago. You need to move to LA if we end up dating for more than a year. And,
Mhm.
I have a child, and these are my boundaries.
Yep.
And he was like, great. And my girlfriends thought, that's crazy that you're already talking about these things on your third date. And
Nope.
I said, no, it's not. Not
Mhm.
wasting my time, not wasting his time. And I wouldn't
So
have done
good.
that 2 years ago. And it worked. It worked because you can't say the wrong thing to the right person.
Mm.
You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, ladies.
Yes. Oh, that's
Don't
so
worry
good.
about how you're acting, what you're doing,
Yep.
who, like, as vulnerable as you wanna be. When the person is your person, it'll all click.
Wow, I love that. That's a quote. That's a tweetable quote. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. It's so true, but you know what is so interesting, Sabrina? I've heard like that you hit a pivot moment where you were like, "Ugh, it's exhausting. I'm just going to be myself and have a great time."
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing. I'm not watering down what I want, what I need, what my non-negotiables are. You're like, "I'm
right.
not moving." That's not
No.
happening.
And all of these books on playing games, right?
Mm,
Here's the difference. So a lot of these books say play hard to get, say these things when you're on a date. But the problem with those, it's not authentic. You're not
right.
authentically being hard to get.
Nope.
And when I was dating and when I met Nate, I wasn't trying to play hard to get. I just was very independent, and I created a life that I love, that I was like, "Hey, if you wanna join my life, great." But, I was just in a different headspace. I wasn't playing any games at all. I
Right.
was being authentically where I was at that time, but it took me working on my self-esteem to
Yes.
get to the point that I was whole in myself, that
Mm,
I didn't have any, spaces that needed to be filled by somebody else.
mm. Wow, and my friend, that's very, very similar to my story with Vic, where I never wanted to get married, didn't need to. It just come to the point where I was like, I built an amazing life. Maybe marriage isn't for me, and that's okay. Like I don't, I'm not settling. I'm not settling just
Right.
so I can be married. Like I'm not doing that because I felt like I had been doing that. Making myself small, being with people who I threatened, blah blah blah. Where I was like, oh, this
Yep.
is so boring. I don't want to do it. And it's interesting. As soon as I let that need go and thought, I really don't need it because I didn't have a lot of pressure, like in my family to be married, whatever. Suddenly, that came in and I did exactly what you did, where I was like, on the first date, the first real date, he was like, so what do you want? And I was like, do you want to know what I want? I literally just listed it all. I want someone who's willing to consider having a child. I want someone who wants to have a second home that I want. I want someone who owns their own house. I want someone who's a grown up financially. I want someone who knows how to get tickets to the opera. I want just bam, 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 bam. And I was like, okay. So I just figured that was the last date I was going to have with him. And he was like, yeah, sounds good. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I guess we
that's
can
right.
move on to date two.
And if I mean, I won't speak for Nate, but he never thought he was gonna get married. His parents told me, and he actually is a whole person in himself, and I've never been with anyone
Mm,
that I've respected more, and I actually like him. Not only do I love him and I respect him, but I like the person that he is,
yes.
and I love spending time with him. It's
Mm.
a dream come true.
I mean, I literally started crying hysterically when you told me you were engaged when I saw your ring. I was
Because
like,
you've been with me through it, Terry, you have seen it.
oh, it's so incredibly joyful. Like it's so joyful because I love you so much and you deserve it so
Thank
much.
you.
And so does Nate. And so does
Yes,
Olivia, right? I
yes.
mean, she is just loving her situation. She's got all the parents.
Yeah, exactly. She's got people that love her so much. I tell her that all the time, how lucky she is. She's another amazing soul.
Yes, but she's just got this great bonus dad on top of her own dad, on top of you, on top of all the other people who love her. It was fun. It was funny. How was it for her for you to be shooting the show in her house?
I think she's so used to it now. I mean,
Yeah.
she's grown up seeing me film. She doesn't necessarily care. I think she just wanted everybody out so she could have some snacks, and she liked having craft services here, but I think she was excited to see the show because I got to show her a few episodes. So, I just always want to show her that she could do whatever she could be, whoever she wants to be.
Yeah.
And I teach her manifestation in a different way. I tell her, imagine that you have two angels up there that are listening to what you're saying in your head all the time, but they don't know the word no. So instead of saying in your head, like, I don't want to have to do homework, or I don't want to fail this test, you say everything in a positive way. I want to, I want to get great grades. I want to have great friends. And they're always listening to you. So if you always say what you want, then the magic will happen.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. You guys, that is the takeaway. That is the perfect place to end this. Give us all the information one more time. Sabrina Soto, where can people find and follow you? Where can they watch the brand new show, The Sabrina Soto Show, which is out now, you guys, everywhere. Go binge.
Yes,
Tell us.
please. So you can find me on Instagram, Sabrina_Soto, and then Facebook, Twitter, the whole thing. And the show is The Sabrina Soto Show. So it's with the Design Network, wherever the Design Network is, but it's on Hulu. You can see it on Amazon, DirecTV, Samsung TV, Fubu, is it Fubo? And then Roku. So just search it up and you'll watch the show.
Amazing. Let's plan some watch parties, you guys. Get together with your girlfriends and just binge.
Watch, please DM me. I do actually read all of my DMs.
You do. You're so funny. I love it. Well, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on this amazing show. Of course. To be continued, my friend. You'll be back before you know it.
Love you.